Hi, I'm Sarah Trott, and welcome to the Fourth Trimester Podcast. I'm a new mama, and this podcast is all about postpartum care for the first few months following birth, the time period also known as the fourth trimester. My postpartum doula, Esther Gallagher, is my co-host. She's a mother, grandmother, perinatal educator, birth and postpartum care provider. Fourth trimester care, our topic, is about the practical, emotional, and social support parents and baby require. And importantly, it helps set the tone for the continuing journey of parenting. Hi, this is Sarah Trott. Welcome back to the Fourth Trimester Podcast. Today, our topic is rediscovering intimacy after baby in a way that feels right for you. And on this episode, I am joined by my co-host, Esther Gallagher, as well as a special guest, Dr. Shoshanna Bennett, who is a pioneer in perinatal mental health. And we're going to talk about what intimacy really looks like after baby arrives. And I want to tell you a little bit about Shoshanna Bennett. So she had 2 life-threatening bouts of postpartum illness. And after that, Dr. Shoshanna helped pioneer the field of perinatal mental health in the U.S. She founded Postpartum Assistance for Mothers in 1987. She became president of the California state organization Postpartum Health Alliance, and then served as president of Postpartum Support International, which is an organization near and dear to our hearts. We've had that founder, Jane Honig, been on our show several times. And additionally, Dr. Shosh is the author of many books, including Children of the Depressed, Postpartum Depression for Dummies, Pregnant on Prozac, and she is the co-author of Beyond the Blues, Understanding and Treating Prenatal and Postpartum Depression and Anxiety. She's also a perinatal psychologist. She has helped over 20,000 new moms and dads around the world through private consultations, conferences, webinars, and support groups. That's a lot. Thank you so much for honoring us with being a guest on our program today. Dr. Shosh, welcome.
Thank you. I'm equally as honored to be here. It's nice to be back. I mean, you've been doing your wonderful show for so long, and it's great to get together again. I love it.
Yes, we've had you on our program talking about busting the myths of motherhood some number of years ago, and we're going to link to that episode too, because I think people will want to go back and re-listen or listen to that one for the first time. And Esther, you have quite a history with Dr. Shosh as well.
Well, I think we came up together. We were certainly doing our work in the Bay Area around a similar time frame. And I have often referred either clients or other doulas clients to Dr. Bennett for perinatal psychological support over these many years in San Francisco. So I would even say that when I was newly in the Bay Area doing my work, as far as I could tell, you were the only game in town. There were, it's really blossomed since you undertook to address this need. And the good news is many, many people now have followed in your footsteps and come along to offer similar forms of support.
And thank you for those you've sent my way. And I certainly hope I've taken excellent care of them. What was happening in my living room as I was still recovering was the first support group in the country for postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. So not only the only one in town, and I started to train soon after that. Mm-hmm. But train other professionals. But this was it. I mean, that was it for quite a while. So the field has come a long way since I helped to pioneer it way back in the 80s, and we had very similar interests that way, which is wonderful. So happy to support you. It's all part of the same, right? We're kindred spirits. So we've kind of grown up together.
Yes. Yeah.
Dr. Shosh, can you tell us more about your story that you just referenced in your own experience?
Certainly. I mean, the reason why I'm sitting here and my passion is still so strong is because of personal experience. I was a special education teacher, and I was looking forward. My husband and I were looking forward to our first child, and pregnancy went great. In my case, it doesn't always, which we can certainly talk about later in the program. But then once I delivered, I plummeted pretty much immediately. There were things that were happening that were also not great during the delivery process, but I lost myself and I had no idea what was happening. It was absolutely horrifying. Really, it took a good 2.5 years of just running into ignorance and criticism and all kinds of horrible stuff of those not only not understanding, but, throwing all kinds of just, cut it out, all kinds of judgment, including members of my in-laws. Again, wasn't their fault. They didn't know any better. Even the nurses involved and the therapist I went to see and my OB didn't know to go home and get your, do something nice for yourself and it'll pass, Shoshanna. I mean, little did they know that what this was. Nobody knew back then, certainly not much in the US, if anything. So I went through it again, horrifying situation, suicidal depressions, by the way, almost took my life a couple of times. And I went through it again after the birth of my second. And about a year into that hellish experience, I started to hear, I saw a program. It was a snippet of a program. And the woman who was being interviewed was describing what I should say my whole family had been experiencing on one degree or another for years now. And I had missed the infancy and toddlerhood of my firstborn. Again, she was about 2.5 when I started to come out of it. And then again, I plummeted yet again after the birth of my second child. And at that point, I started researching, still very depressed, extremely anxious, traumatized, the whole smorgasbord of, except psychosis. I will say I was spared that, thank God. But I started researching everything I could get my hands on that had been translated into English and realized that the U.S. was far behind many other countries on the planet and realized, okay, something needs to be done here. I have been surrounded by ignorance and horrible stuff. And I know, as a matter of fact, I knew of people who had committed suicide, and I was putting pieces together like, oh my goodness, that was probably what was going on with these people. So that's where the passion came from. I had to do something with the experience that my family and I had gone through at this point twice. And I started running a support group out of my living room in Castro Valley, California. And that was the first of its kind in the country. And I knew I wanted to write a book because there was nothing that everyday people, non-clinicians, and again, I wasn't a clinician at that point, I was a teacher. There was nothing that parents could sink their teeth into, could throw into a diaper bag. There was nothing around, and there wasn't the internet. There was no social media. There wasn't, there was nothing but word of mouth and what you could read. So I started writing and asked Dr. Peck Inman to join me in writing this book. By the way, I know this is really annoying for authors to do, but we just released the 6th edition of Beyond the Blues, both in English and in Spanish. So I wanted to do a quick it's out of the way now, but I just wanted to make sure people know we're very excited about it because we've updated all kinds of things. It's very practical information. And not clinical unless you're looking for that. It's in there, but it's really meant for those suffering and they need to know what to do. I mean, how to put one foot in front of the other when you're faced with a perinatal pregnancy or postpartum mood or anxiety disorder, something over the line, out of the ordinary. And it blossomed from there. I went back to school when my kids were still very, very young because those in the support group wanted to talk to me more. They were really asking for therapy. I couldn't. I knew what the boundaries were. I couldn't get into the relationship with their mother, or other deeper stuff. I could give them psychoeducation. It also opened doors, writing books and running groups. I was then invited to start educating. And that is a love of mine. I started as an educator. I'm continuing to educate. And I have whether there's one person listening or thousands of people listening, those who show up are the ones, they're meant to be there. And, it's that ripple effect. I'm sure we're all on the same page, right? You drop that pebble in the pond and you just see, like I'll hear my words on someone else's podcast or in a conference. And I remember saying that way back when nobody knew what the heck this was. And I love that. It's like, wow, those ripples have gone far, and it really gives me such joy. And my passion is just as strong now as it was way back in 1987 when this all began.
Can I pop in with a question or two?
Of course.
So, your book, you were saying that it's mainly for people who are suffering, and that's always fair. But I'm curious whether you think it's a good book to help people normalize some of the early, in the first 2 weeks when things are pretty much out of control and you're feeling a lot and you can feel feelings of identity loss and things like that.
Yes.
But it also can be part of a big wave that then might smooth out later. So I will say I try to normalize sort of the bigness of it all in the first 2 weeks and then say, and we're going to watch you, we're going to follow this.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I want to clarify that Beyond the Blues is not only for those suffering. There are chapters in here for professionals. And we actually break it down, doulas, midwives, GPs, so that if you're particularly interested, you can go to those sections. So it's just as much. Because again, we don't use a lot of lingo. The way I speak in general, I don't like doing that. All right, we don't have to throw around clinical terms. Let's just talk to each other. I'm here as a survivor, not just as a perinatal psychologist. So yeah, very good for professionals. Just the feedback we get are just as much from professionals as from those suffering. Regarding normalizing, it's so important when we're talking about disorders. It's important not only to talk about what they are, but so when a mom contacts me, said, I don't know, is this normal or not? I mean, do I need extra help? I'll ask her a few questions. Typically, I already know within a few seconds, but I'll ask her, appropriate questions. If she's going through the normal baby blues, and whenever you hear, I'm talking to your audience now, you certainly know this, but if anybody tells you that maternity blues, baby blues, has different names, is mild postpartum depression, that is wrong. It is not considered baby blues is not considered a disorder at all. That is normal adjustment. So what I might say to the mom who I feel is going through the blues, I'll say, look, here are some places you can find great support for new moms. Let's keep an eye on certain things. If you happen to notice these kinds of things continuing past a couple of weeks postpartum, give me another call. We'll jump in. We'll, make sure you're happy and go on your way in a wonderful way. But it might take some more intervention. Just let me know. So yes, we normalize as we can, but as you said very articulately, let's keep an eye on it, because this can pop up even months and months.
Yeah.
Later. So we want them to be educated as to what they should look for.
Mm-hmm.
We're all about prevention, right?
Yeah.
So if we can catch it right away, let's do it. I mean, like with any other issue, if we can jump on it fast, prognosis is even better. And all the relationships within the family unit can be protected as well.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, this isn't a woman's issue. This is a public health issue. It affects everybody when she's suffering. And fathers can certainly suffer as well. I'm particularly saying fathers because our data is on the men. My experience, 37 years of experience at this point. Can partners in general go through these disorders? Yes, for different reasons, not necessarily because of the reproductive hormones, but anyway, I'm going off in different directions, but I love what you said about the normalizing. Yes, normalize, just keep an eye on it, know what to watch for, nothing to be afraid of. There's so much help out there. We go for 100% wellness, 100%.
Yeah.
And again, one of those myths is, if I'm treating, if I acknowledge that I have an issue, that means it'll be forever, or I'll be on that medication for the rest of my life, or I'll need therapy for it. No. These are considered to be acute disorders, not chronic. They go away.
And treatable. Yeah. And along the lines of what you were saying about who the book sort of pivots towards at times, one of the things that we've really tried to reinforce on the Fourth Trimester Podcast is that the educating that we're doing in this space, I'm thrilled if moms are listening. Of course, that's great. But my real goal in life is to have every 4-year-old kid in America know that pregnancy, birth, and postpartum are part of life, and that we can all learn ways to support people in, 4-year-olds don't have to be the main job supporters, but the more we sort of spread this out into the world and say,
Yes.
everyone gets born, so everyone can be part of the project of supporting and helping to heal and recover the person who brought them here, or somebody else who's brought somebody else here, the better.
Uh-huh.
And so often people are coming to me with kind of our parents aren't around, or if they're around, they're not our people, this,
Uh-huh.
that, or or I have issues with my mother, or
Right.
mother-in-law, or whatever. And
Right.
so, if I'm lucky enough to get to have them in my purview before they deliver, I'm often recommending, well, why don't you have them listen to the Fourth Trimester podcast? But now there's this opportunity, like, why not? If you've been told or not by your family members, oh, your mom had postpartum depression, or, we're worried about your mental health because grandma had mental health
Mm-hmm.
issues, or,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many possibilities in the mental health purview, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it just occurs to me that a book like this, everyone could read. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be nice if people across the board, whether they're ever going to have kids or not,
Yes.
would have a clue
Yes.
about what
Exactly right. So,
the
when I'm speaking,
perinatal body is going through, including the
yeah,
mind. Yeah. So,
exactly. And it's all about prevention. You're right. In
hmm
education and, all kinds of groups, the leaders of groups,
hmm
prenatal yoga instructors, daycare folks.
yeah.
Everybody who's in touch with pregnant or new parents, right? Flyers should be given out. The
hmm
information should be there. The really good, the astute group leaders of any kind, they are handing out brochures, whether people are doing great now or not, because you don't know if next week or next month she'll be doing great. So
hmm
again, education isn't to be feared. It's the lack of education, right?
Yeah.
That's the worry. When women don't know what's going on, when spouses think their wives are completely losing it and all they need is some thyroid support, or it's so important that, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. And we're all about prevention. And with great education out there, so many of these issues, whether it's throwing out the myths of motherhood, whether it's making sure she gets adequate or nighttime sleep as best as possible, and she knows what she's shooting for
hmm
hours in a row for nighttime sleep to protect serotonin. All of this stuff, this basic information, what kind of foods can be put together easily to help protect mental health. These things don't take money. It just takes information.
hmm
And yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. Everybody needs to have this information. Who isn't in touch with someone who might get pregnant?
Well, and since we brought it up and we're talking about education, you touched on
Yes.
it. You said when you talk to your new moms, you're like, oh, maybe it's just baby blues, but let's keep an eye on some things and look for
Mhm.
signs. Do you want to just say what those are for anyone listening who's hearing kind of some of the stuff for the first time?
Sure. There's a lot of emotionality during baby blues. It doesn't feel good, but it's not a disorder, as we said. There might be ups and downs and teariness and feeling overwhelmed and oh my, I have the normal worries that just come in and out, like, can I really do this? This is a lot more than I thought. Yikes, what did I do? That's all normal. But what you're watching for, insomnia, you're watching for an inability to sleep at night. I will stress at night. I don't care if she's able to sleep during the day. The whole sleep when the baby sleeps thing it's not important. What's important is that she gets the brain restorative sleep at night. So when everybody else is sleeping, she needs to be able to sleep. If her mind is spinning, if she's unable to let go and take full advantage of that nighttime sleep, that is an issue. You watch for that. We need to make sure that that gets handled. A loss of appetite is also something we look for. If the mom isn't setting aside time to care for herself and eat, that's another issue that happens a lot, with that myth of it's all about the baby. Just make sure the baby's okay. That's a different thing. Still important to conquer. But if she really is not hungry, again, could it be another medical issue going on? Of course, but you need to rule out the mental health, because especially with anxiety, our tummy is in knots. If she's having persistent, scary thoughts, I mean, one of the basic screening questions is, are you having any scary or unusual thoughts? Now, what's scary and unusual to one mommy might be different for another, right? So you don't get more specific than that, but it's one or two scary thoughts of, I could just turn the wheel and go off the freeway, and that would be hard. I mean, one or two of those a month, normal. But when it's pervasive, when it's many times during a day, and when it starts taking over her functioning on a daily basis or getting in the way of her sleeping at nighttime, that's over the line into disorder, could be OCD, postpartum OCD. So those are the kinds of things. Also, if a mommy is putting herself down a lot, if she's saying things like, my baby is rejecting me or rejecting my milk, or everybody can do this better than I can, you watch for those low self-esteem statements. Those aren't okay. Don't dismiss those. And, it's not always crying, and when often when I say postpartum depression, and I'll say, what kind of picture do you get in your mind, or what kind of thoughts do you have about, it's often mommy in the bathrobe, unable to function, crying all day. It may look that way, but it often doesn't. She might be fully dressed with her makeup on. So, you cannot tell, or you can't count on telling just by looking at her. So the right questions need to be asked. But yes, appetite, sleep at nighttime, her ability or inability, as the case might be, to sleep at night, any scary thoughts that are worries taking over and really getting in the way of her functioning. Those are some of the big ones to watch for.
And I'm curious, along the lines of self-esteem stuff, I often feel like, the root of that is a kind of learned, let's face it, learned in the culture, kind of blame and shaming, MO for whenever things get heavy, you start blaming somebody. And it's often in the case of women themselves. But I'm curious, every now and then I see a mom who makes everything about the baby and the baby's behavior. And it's not just a reaction to the baby behavior, like, oh gosh, now there's something new I have to learn about you. It's, why are you doing that? Why are you crying? Why are you doing
To
this?
me, why are you doing?
Yes, it's kind of like, yeah, babies are so inconvenient, but it's often more than that. Like, just, you need to learn patience. It's sending messages to the baby who, in a way that no baby is prepared to respond to. But when I see that it's constant, it's a curious social emotional interaction with the newborn that I'm curious if you have anything to tell us about in terms of this, maybe what we would want to call a spectrum of mental health.
I'm not quite sure how to. I want to make sure that I'm understanding you, because this could be coming from if you're talking about like extra short-temperedness with the baby, or just an inability, like a lack of patience. Is that what you're talking about? Like, stop it. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, and what I feel in my own body when I'm in that environment is, gosh, they just have no tolerance. It's like their nervous system is in a highly reactive state, but this is how they're working it out. And it feels to me like anxiety.
Yes.
Yeah.
So depression isn't just sadness. Sometimes it's numbness. We don't feel anything, right? Often it is. And sometimes it's short-temperedness or anger, even rage, frankly. So again, if one has any preconceived ideas of depression, rethink this because it can manifest in many different ways. I mean, certainly can sleep deprivation add into short-temperedness? Of course. Could it be other things as well? Yes. But if that's what you're saying, Esther, absolutely.
Mhm.
Sure. I mean, moms will contact me. Gosh, not too long ago, as a matter of fact, a mom contacted me. She was very concerned. She was ashamed of herself. And she said, I hate to even admit this. By the way, when you hear admit, there's typically shame. I try to help them along the way change admit to acknowledge, which it's a reframe and we need to get rid of the shame. But she called and she said, I dropped my baby too hard into the crib. I know it was too hard. It startled her. It's terrible. I feel I'm a terrible mother. But I just can't stand her. I mean, she was that wound up. So, I told her, look, bad mothers don't call me. Good mothers call me who need help. That's number one. So cut it out. Good for you for calling. It's hard to talk about this stuff. So of course, that's the first thing I do is give her a pat on the back because she was clearly dealing with a lot. And we got into that. And yes, she had a severe depression. She was calling me at 5 months. 5 months. She had been going through this for 5 months. Her pregnancy was fine. But as soon as, very shortly after that, for a number of different factors. But yes, if that's what you're talking about, sometimes. And often these moms are really surprised with their reactions. They're feeling awful because it's not their usual self. And that's another thing you're watching for. If her behavior, if she's just not herself, and if she says, this isn't me, I don't know who this is, I don't like this person, I hate feeling this way, but I don't even identify with me, that's another indication that this is over the line into needing professional intervention.
And you would, of course, spread that around to any caregiver in the home that's experiencing any of these, and one of them being anger and rage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, look, sleep deprivation can be there with the dads too. By the way, I'm using mom and dad. I'm talking about the partner relationship, but just for the purposes of our conversation today, I will often say mom and dad. Yes, any caregiver. As a matter of fact, I'm working quite a bit with grandparents these days. Not just for that, but often, grandparents are taking care of their, maybe their kids cannot. They're in a position where they're not able to care for the children, so the grandparents take over, or they're just there a lot. This happens with caregivers in general. So yes, absolutely. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Anybody taking care of
And
a new baby.
and we worked that into the book. No, another plug. Sorry. But yeah, we worked it in. Jane Honickman, by the way, you mentioned Jane, who founded Postpartum Support International. And you mentioned also in my bio, Sarah, that the Parental Action Institute, it was Jane and I who co-founded the Institute. So we still do a lot of work together. It started to be the Postpartum Action Institute. We changed the name to Parental because we didn't want to leave out the partners anymore. They're often ignored. They've been dismissed often as just the helper, the supporter, instead of, hey, they're becoming new parents also. Thank you very much. And they shouldn't be ignored in the OB office, et cetera. So, and anyway, so I didn't want to launch off into that, but I just wanted to mention.
I mean, I appreciate you mentioning that. And I think it's a perfect steer for us to talk about partners. Let's not forget them in any of this. And particularly since we're talking about intimacy. And what do we mean by intimacy, and what does that look like?
You bet. Yeah, it's such a huge topic. It's not just sex. Often people think intimacy, oh, that means sexual. Look, sex is an important part of intimacy, but it certainly isn't everything. We're talking body language. We're talking nurturing touch. We're talking about talking in general and how that's done. It's the bonding of partners, and bonding is a process that happens over time, right? Whether it's parent and child, whether it's, couples. But yes, you go through a lot of the sadness. Gosh, there's so much I want to say. Pardon me. I start a sentence and I go off in another direction. I just want to give your audience as much as I possibly can. Part of the sadness often with the moms, usually moms who contact me, not always. I work quite a bit with fathers as well. But the moms will express sadness not only because they're feeling of loss of their selves, but possible loss of the couple relationship. And they're feeling really alone and distant from their partner. And it's so important to talk about this whenever possible before the baby enters, right? There can be such chaos when your life goes upside down. Hopefully there's some joy there as well. But things are going to change in a massive way. So having those things in mind so that you can be conscious of it and have the intent of not only keeping the intimacy, but making sure it doesn't, keeping it, making sure it doesn't disappear. For starters, you can also increase it. So that can happen too. Sometimes intimacy in general can get stronger with a couple when there's this intent. So super important. Facial expression. For instance, I'll suggest when you're passing like ships in the night, maybe one has the older kid, one has the baby, just a touch on the arm going, I'm so glad we're doing this together. I love you. And just keep on going. What was that, 100th of a second? That can make the difference between bonding and not bonding. Often I'll hear from my clients, well, he knows I love him. I don't have to tell him that, or we don't have to have physical close. He knows this already. Why should I have? Don't assume is always my message to partners, either partner, both partners. Don't assume the other one knows it or feels it anymore. They might know it up here, but often that can really dwindle when they're not getting the behaviors, whether it's words or actions or both, when one isn't showing it or talking about it, that can fade. So we want to make sure from the very beginning, right? Or else the chasm can get so huge. It's a whole lot harder to reconnect than it is, to make sure it doesn't dissolve to begin with. There's another example. You just want me to keep going? I can keep. Please stop me if you have a question. I'll just, okay. For instance, one partner leaves for a few hours and comes home. What the partner who's at home should do, I know this sounds like 1950s stuff, but so important. You leave whatever you're doing. Obviously, make sure the baby's in a safe place. It goes without saying. But hang up the phone. Whenever possible, you stop what you are doing and you go greet your partner who just walked through the door. And you give a hug and a kiss and a quick, glad you're home. Nice to see you, honey. That's it. Then go back to whatever you were doing. That's enormous. And, I'll sometimes get pushback from my clients going, how could that be so? What? Hang up, hang up with my friend. I haven't talked with her in a lot. Yeah, hang up. Because you want to show the partner their priority. They're really important. What is best for your children is to show that the parental union, right, that gives them a sense of safety and security. And
hey listeners, great news. We've partnered with Every Mother, your go-to destination for evidence-based and on-demand exercise therapy regimens. Whether you're dealing with diastasis recti, preparing for birth, or navigating postpartum recovery, Every Mother has your back. With personalized daily routines tailored to your core and pelvic floor needs, they're here to support you every step of the way. Say hello to a stronger, healthier you with Every Mother. Visit fourthtrimesterpodcast.com/everymother for 10% off your personalized express exercise routine. The discount link is also on our deals page alongside lots of other amazing exclusive discounts and deals. Again, it's fourthtrimesterpodcast.com with fourth spelled out FOURTH.
Now, the other thing is, let's say the older one or even the younger one is crawling or running over to whoever walked in the door. The one who walked in like, hi, mommy, hi, daddy, or, they want attention. The one who walks through the door can acknowledge them, say, hi, sweetie, I'm going to say hi to mommy first, and then I'll pick you up. That's not ignoring anybody. That's not neglect. That's right. What it's doing is letting the kid know mommy or daddy, as the case might be, is super important. Okay. And they're learning kind of hierarchy, or as for lack of a better term. And then, after the hug and the kiss and the so glad you're home, kid gets swooped up and swung around and right. these kinds of things seem little and insignificant. They're not. Often when I work with the men, especially, not always, but especially, they'll say, I'm bringing the money in, but I'm not important to her as her man anymore. I don't feel like I even count. I'm just there to help bring things to her when she's breastfeeding and bring the money home to make sure we have enough to put on the table. But does she still regard me as her man, as her partner? So there can be, that's what you want to watch out for, and in reverse as well.
It sounds like emotional connection,
Mm.
making sure that that's maintained. And I love that you mentioned the possibility of becoming closer through the experience of being parents together.
Absolutely. Even with postpartum depression, I'll ask a client or whatever they're going through, I'll say, would you like yourself back? Would you like a better self back?
I love that.
Yeah. If they want a better self back, that would be my pleasure. And we do that all the time together because they're learning strengths that they didn't even know they had. And relationships. They're strengthening relationships everywhere. So if you use any crisis, we'll call it, if you use it as an opportunity, oh my goodness, yes, you can soar better than you ever have before, not only individually, but your partners, your extended family, your work, because you have grown. And no, it's such a delight to help my clients. I mean, often what I'll hear is, if it's possible, I mean, at that point, they're still in crisis, and I say, of course, we're going to get you out of the really tough stuff. And then we can throw out all those old patterns that, I mean, some of which might have actually landed them, low self-esteem or whatever. But yeah, we'll start throwing out that old stuff that wasn't helping them probably for a long time. But we get them even healthier and happier than they've ever been before. And the relationship can do that as well. I've seen remarkable changes in relationships and things that really weren't healthy forever. I mean, starting from the beginning, the dynamics, things that really weren't great ahead of time. And then the baby comes, they might have a really tough time and they get help for themselves. And the couple relationship it's beautiful to watch. It's absolutely sometimes miraculous to watch the growth there. And so I could go on about it, but I get really excited for them if they say, yeah, I'd like a better self back. I go, okay, you're on.
Yeah. It sounds like there could be old issues that were always there from the start, or maybe things were like going great, but then baby comes along and things are tougher. I mean, is it what creates that disconnect? Why is that so hard?
Well, stress in general. I mean, one of the myths of parenting or of becoming a new parent is that whatever wasn't going well before, that'll just disappear because we're focusing on the baby now. The baby will make everything well. I know, I'm trying not to laugh out loud. I mean, whatever was hanging around before, as we all know, it becomes 100 times tougher. It doesn't go away. It just exacerbates everything. So yeah, that would be a myth. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, that's kind of back to what you said of like fortify your relationship beforehand if you can. Talk about it before.
Possible. Absolutely. Talking, for instance, part of the Dr. Shosh wellness plan, whenever possible, you discuss your wishes and expectations. I mean, just start there, right? So that you're not assuming, well, of course he'll get up and take care of the baby at nighttime, right? And he's going, she likes to be in control. I'm just going to stay out of the way. And what happened? Boom, right? Completely unnecessary because I didn't talk about it ahead of time. There was just a lot of assuming. So things like that. Yeah. To talk about it, to have a plan of action. I love, Esther, what you said. This is a number of minutes ago at this point, but you were talking about the real emotional supports. Often it's not who we think it's going to be, right? Or we think it should be my mom or my sister, right? And it might be your neighbor, or it might be somebody you met in a faith organization, or it might be, right? It might be a good friend. So I always tell my clients, it's like, who can you open your heart up to without any fear of criticism? And who can you do? And it often surprises them. It's like, I guess those aren't my real peeps. Those other people might be good at cleaning your bathroom or doing your shopping, but not somebody you want to really, open your, just really be honest and truthful with as to what's going on.
I
So,
was
yeah,
once teaching a postpartum preparation class at UCSF a long time ago. And, I was just describing the normal trajectory, and I was talking about something that, and this was a little while back, wasn't of the last century or the century before that, right? It was in this century. And I was just describing the normal sort of, immediate postpartum, the first 2 weeks into the
yeah,
6 weeks, et cetera, into the
yeah,
fourth trimester. And during a little break, a heterosexual couple came forward. She seemed pretty relaxed, but he was, I think if he could have torn his hair out in that moment, I think he would have. And he just was so fraught and deer in the headlights. He said, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of this. And it was like the world was crashing around him. The fact that the perinatal body
yeah,
has to go through things and heal and recover. So he naturally bought the ubiquitous myth that somehow pregnant bodies squirt babies out and they're ready to go and they do everything
yeah,
and you can just go back to work and blah, 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 blah. And so, in this moment, this poor fellow was having a crisis of compassion. And that's what I call it in my own mind. And I'm going to try to get that out there as a phrase. But I think that's what we run into so often. I think, and correct me, please, because you're far more experienced in these matters. I think this is at, a layer in what's happening around mental health when a new baby comes along is that people just don't even understand what they're going through physiologically.
hmm
And everyone's going through it physiologically. If
hmm
you've been, in a hospital setting for 3 or 4 days
hmm
with your partner who you're watching going through whatever they're going through in a hospital clinical setting, and you just feel completely out of water observing that whole process, right?
yeah,
That's nervous system stress, right?
yes,
So as an example, that's only one little example. That's
hmm
not just going to go away.
right,
But your partner who has gone through all those things herself, assuming
hmm
it's a she, I'm not assuming,
hmm
um, isn't the person who's going to offer you compassion in those moments while they are healing and recovering and going through their own identity crisis and all the things. And so what your social emotional resource is for getting yourself through healing and recovering is going to really make a big difference, right? And
absolutely,
those need to be people who can exercise a lot of compassion, right? Not just empathy, oh, poor you, right? But I
hmm
see you.
hmm
This is
hmm
rough.
hmm
And let's see what we can do to find resource.
absolutely. And it's
Right.
not that partners can't give each other compassion because they're both going through their own,
Sure.
crisis of it, but each needs their own resources.
Yes.
And you can't just rely. I mean, often what I hear from the guys is that from the partners is various things showing that they are the pillar. I mean, they're
Mm.
the one that is being relied upon for for her emotional stability, for everything. And so as, what we often see actually is that as she recovers, if the partner has not gotten their own support, they drop. I mean, if she has, I'm going to say she and he just for again,
Mhm,
to be
mhm.
simple here. If she has postpartum depression and he's not getting support, he's at about 50 to 80% risk of being depressed himself. That's the highest risk factor in him getting depressed if he's not getting help, if he's not getting proper help. It's not about help. It's about the right kind. I
Mm.
hear that a lot. Well, just get help. Well, I'm a big one for going to somebody who knows what they're doing here. They can make things a lot worse, but that's a whole other conversation. So each partner needs outside support. No,
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely.
going through, right. So no, I'm definitely with you. The pillar to keep himself, together, and so that he won't drop later on, because it's often, oh, she's getting better, she doesn't need me as much, and then you start seeing all kinds of manifestations of depression. It's often a lag time in men, and that's often why. She might
Makes
experience it quickly, but yeah, right. So yeah, absolutely they need support. And often, just want to work this in here, when he says to me, as long as she's okay, I'll be fine, I never let him get away with that. I go, no, 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 no. She needs you to be healthy. Where are you go? Do you play basketball? You get together with your buddies? What do you do to recharge? She needs you to do that in order for her to, and she's over there nodding. Yes, yes. I keep saying he should go out and do so, So often the guys are just thinking, no, I don't need that. I just need her to be okay. Nope, not okay.
Yeah, the very romantic notion, isn't it? And I use that as a danger red flag, right?
Yeah.
Romance,
Yeah.
very.
And again, they're socialized that way too. I mean, they're working through a lot of their own socialization. Should we talk sex?
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Okay. How about that for a no segue?
I like it.
Okay. This is a major topic, even under our major umbrella of intimacy. It's important. And often my clients are really surprised when I tell them some of the things that I'm about to share. And I will say right off the bat, if there is trauma involved, if during labor and delivery there's been some trauma or some stuff has seriously come up during pregnancy, labor and delivery, certainly that needs to be handled, and there are certain steps to take there. I'm speaking more generally about a postpartum couple. When I talk, it's not only intercourse. I mean, obviously there are many ways to connect sexually. And on that note, pregnant couples, when she's had a high risk pregnancy, right, and she's told not to have intercourse, that doesn't mean she can't be sexual. It doesn't mean they still can't, they can't connect sexually. That is a mistake. There are all kinds of ways to get creative. And speaking of bonding even more, my goodness, when they need to get creative, I mean, it gets them out of their usual whatever they do. That can be a huge bonding in intimacy. So just to throw that in there. Well, we can't have intercourse, so oh well. No sex?
No,
Not
I mean,
necessarily. Right.
creativity in relationship is the underutilized resource, isn't it?
There you go.
Like
Absolutely.
creative here. Let's be creative.
Yes. And
Yeah.
exactly right. And so even when she hasn't even yet gotten the green light, from her midwife or her OB to have intercourse, does that mean they can't have sex? No, that's not what it means.
Yeah.
Right. And actually sometimes the contractions of having an orgasm can help with a lot of different things. It can help her uterus. It can help her hormones. It can help. Yeah. So here are the things I was referring to that my clients are often surprised about, but later they'll come back and say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you knocked me out of that old way of thinking. Do not use tiredness as a reason not to have sex. Do not use my libido is so low, I cannot have sex. Don't say I don't feel sexy enough to have sex. Don't use any of that stuff. I'm not in the mood. Don't use that. It is a mistake. And how long things continue, again, the longer things continue, remember that chasm becomes more and more difficult to reconnect. So does it sound like I'm not being compassionate? Maybe to some, but I'm saying that for everybody's well-being. And for Pete's sakes, don't think about it as, okay, it's my wifely duty, so I'll do the guy a favor. Oh my gosh, get out of that mindset, or you're just going to build up so much resentment. It's really going to hurt intimacy big time. I used to work with a couple of OBs. They have since retired. Well, I guess at our ages, it's a smart thing to do. I'm going to retire when I expire, by the way. I'm not going anywhere. When they used to suggest, or even, no, stronger than suggest, they used to prescribe at least 3 orgasms a week to their newly postpartum mothers.
Wow.
To get their juices flowing again, which is great for their hormones, right?
Well, oxytocin is oxytocin, and it's always good for you. I don't think there's too much of it. So even if it's just a snuggle or a smooch or
That's right.
let's hold the baby together.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
we're breastfeeding and we're going to just all snuggle up for it. I'm
Mhm.
thinking of all the ways, to
Mhm.
share. And I'm really, for some reason, Shoshanna, forgive me for this, but I'm thinking about my son, who's just this massive guy. And one time he was with some friends and me. So I just happened to be part of the conversation. They were talking about intimacy, and big ol' Evan just popped out with, sometimes you just want to be the little spoon.
That's
I'm
wonderful.
like,
Yeah.
okay, what new mom can't just s- snuggle up to their partner's back and spoon them?
And cuddling is so important with intimacy. Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about, it's not sex per se, but it's skin to skin, right? Which is important not only for parent and child, but yeah, absolutely. Does it add to intimacy? You bet. Oh, I love that. I hope it's okay with your son that you mentioned. It's fine with me. I mean, you said,
On this
forgive
trip
me.
a lot.
Yeah. No, that's terrific. And I love that he's this massive guy, wanting to be also nurtured, right? We need to nurture. We don't necessarily nurture each other in this exact same way. Sometimes this person needs it this way and that person needs it that way. But absolutely so important. So yeah, back to no excuses. I mean, I'm going to throw something else in here. Sometimes, no, often, to schedule a time every week to have sex is the smartest and most romantic thing you can possibly do. And I often get pushback from the guys going, "It's not spontaneous." They do. Who wants that? And I'll say, do you remember when you were dating this person? Did you plan on getting together Friday night? How exciting was that? The anticipation of what was going to happen Friday night. He went, oh yeah. Was it scheduled? Yes. You know what I mean? They didn't think of it that way, but yeah. And the leading up to it was really cool. So I'll have my clients put little love notes on the steering wheel or, text. Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. I'll meet you at 7 p.m. in our bedroom. You can really make this juicy, right? It's keeping things going and possibly even making it even more exciting and more wonderful. Again, whether it's intercourse or not, it's some kind of sexual connection. Yeah. So again, the pushback from don't use low libido, don't lose, I don't feel sexy about myself. We work that out, especially the latter. I don't feel sexy and the body image stuff coming. We work that out in therapy, right? I'll say, yeah, you might be thinking those things. Don't let it out of your mouth. And I'll help you with it. Exactly. Yeah, again, surprising, but it's so important. Getting back, I'm so sorry to interrupt. If I don't say it, I'll probably forget. So please excuse me for a second. So yes, have sex for you. I'm speaking to the women here. Have sex for you, for your hormones, physiologically, for your brain chemistry, and for the intimacy. So you're not feeling the sadness and sometimes downright depression for losing your lover. Okay.
Two things occur to me. The first one is kind of a should not. And so I'm hesitant here, but I was in the practice of telling my couples when one or both of them were transitioning back to work, but especially because, most of the time, and even to this day, one partner who hasn't given birth is usually returning to work before the birth giver is. And so one of the things I was often saying, and now I sort of get the physiology of it, not just now, is, when you return to work, use your commute no matter how short or long it is going to be, to just download work and leave it there
Yes.
so that you don't show up, come in the door, throw down your backpack and go, Jesus, what a crappy day I've had. Right. And same for mama. Like, don't create, working person arriving home with what a mess this day has been. I can't wait to tell you what a crap day I've had.
Right.
Not because you shouldn't share those things,
Yeah.
but because each of those things is a cortisol response, not oxytocin. It's going to crush oxytocin. It's hard on your physiology, especially your heart. And, you're just not doing yourself or your partner any favors to be the person who gets the dump or
Not good
gives
for
the
your
dump.
kid either.
Right. And not for the little child who's waiting for, to be picked up or to be whatever.
Yes.
Exactly right.
Yes.
And maybe think of the return when you're reunited each day or whenever it is as a period. There's a period that you eke out of 15 minutes, half an hour, where maybe you just go for a walk because everyone's been indoors way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And fresh air and sunshine's going to do everybody a little good and be relaxing. And you can just, even if you have to not talk, because you don't have anything to say that's going to be fun.
It's setting up that as a structure, as part of the day, it can be looked forward to. I am absolutely with you. Not that they shouldn't connect, as you said. They can do it was a really hard day, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes in the evening when kid goes to, whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. How was your day? How was your day? But you're right. You're right. Checking it out the door. My first husband, passed away. He's a wonderful, wonderful dad, wonderful family guy. And he was great at that. Just what you're saying. He used a commute on BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, for those who don't know, as a way to decompress. So when he was a human resources, huge, way up there in human resources and huge company. So he was getting problems all day and unbelievable stuff he was dealing with. When he walked in that door, I remember his tie just flying off. He was down on the floor with the kids, sometimes he needed 5 minutes to go pee or whatever, but he was so looking forward to letting it all go. And he just checked it all at the door, before he walked in. So I love that. I can talk about the rules of dates. Dating your spouse, your honey, is part of the very important intimacy.
Before we do, my second thing that I wanted to say is that years ago, and I wish I could do a better job of pointing people to it, but I was listening to the best of our knowledge. So maybe that'll be a clue for how to maybe go into their archives. And they were doing a show on depression, actually. And they were talking to everybody, including scientists who work at the microbiological level. And this wonderful woman scientist, whose name I won't remember because I only heard it once, was saying that what we've learned is that what it comes down to is moving the skin. Just moving the skin, right? So I was thinking about just stroking someone's forearm for 5 minutes before you both crash into sleep at night could be the thing. Like, I'm not prescribing it. I don't think it's the answer to everyone's problems, but if you can get yourself to do something as simple as that.
Talking about lowering cortisol.
Right. But
goodness.
what keeps me from being depressed all the time is that every day I give myself a rub down from the top of my head.
Oh, that's great.
To my feet. And I'm single. I don't have a partner. I'm prone to anxiety and depression. But I think the thing that's keeping me ahead of it is that.
Yeah. Thank you for all that sharing. That's great. That's great. Now, my daughter is a single mom as well. And we talk about things like that. Like, do you have some wonderful shea butter or something to just, because it's like you can starve for touch. And we know that from data.
Yeah.
Right? We know that from very interesting, even the rhesus monkeys
Right.
researching.
And for touch that isn't manipulative, like I need something from you touch, right? It's just
Just nurturing,
for
giving. Mhm.
yourself, all the
Yeah.
things.
Yes. Oh, I
That's
think
my
that's
notes.
wonderful. Yeah.
I'm dying to hear your dating notes because
Okay. Rules of dates. Whenever possible, please don't take your baby with you because then you still have a parent hat on and it's very hard when you're trying to reconnect, right? As husband and wife. It's hard. If there's no other way, okay. But whenever possible, please find somebody you trust and okay. And when you can leave the house, do that. Okay. So rule number 1, this is for the moms. Do not wear your mommy underwear on a date. Do not. If you haven't already thrown it away, postpartum, the big stretched out thing with stains on it, get rid of it. Get yourself some new underwear, even if it's a completely different size. It doesn't matter. Do not wear your nursing bra on a date. Thank you very much. This is for you to remember who you used to be before you were a mom. And it's very hard to take off that parent hat, right? When you're wearing that stuff. So I don't care what he wears, but I care what you wear because you want to feel that whether or not there's going to be sex later or not, you want to feel juicy again. Now I don't mean milk leaking. I mean, what kind of juicy I'm talking about. Okay. So that's one. Second, do not make it a business meeting. Do not talk about problems. Do not talk about who's going to fix the leaky faucet or pick up the toddler from preschool. It is not business meetings are very important. Do not do that on a date. That's why couples stop dating because it turns into a business meeting and the spark just goes out. Whatever you are going to talk about is light and fluffy. This is when you're making eyes at each other over soup. Right? And when I hear from my clients, but what will we talk about? I'm thinking, wow, do you need a date? I mean,
Yeah.
badly, right? The other part of that is you may not talk about your child or children. You may not. You're going out as a couple, reconnecting as lovers. You're remembering flirting. I'll say, do you remember flirting? It's like, it was another lifetime ago, right? So important. So I did it, I did that in record time for you, Esther. Those are the main rules of dating. You can talk about your next vacation. You can talk about light, fluffy stuff only. And also you put it just like the schedule for sex, right? Every Wednesday night or whenever you want, as much as humanly possible, set up a regular, or else it just becomes one more thing, one logistical thing, right? That might not happen. So it could be every other Sunday afternoon. It doesn't matter when it is, but whoever's going to take over for you with the child or children, they know when the next time they're going to be over. Whether it's somebody you pay, whether it's a relative, it doesn't matter. And you guys know already when your next date is scheduled. So it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Yay!
We could do a whole show on that, but there it is. There it is.
Wow. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Truly a pleasure to be here. I love what you both are doing. And the fact that your show has been so incredibly successful for so many years says a lot.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just for you're doing what you're doing all these years, I'm very thrilled. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you. It's so incredibly satisfying. So thank you for letting me share here and inviting me on again.
Yes. Dr. Shosh, where can people find out more about you?
drshosh.com. That's the easiest. So drShosh.com. You will see courses that I offer. You will see books. It's very easy to get in touch with me. And I am the one you will hear back from. If you ask me a question or say I need some assistance, whether you're a professional or somebody looking for some help for yourself or somebody you love, I have a team of people helping me, but you will hear directly from me. And so please feel free to get in touch for whatever.
Perfect. We'll put a link to your site in our show notes for anyone who's listening and wants to get in touch with you directly. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody. Ciao.
You can subscribe to this podcast in order to hear more from us. Thank you for listening, everyone, and I hope you'll join us next time on the Fourth Trimester. The theme music on this podcast was created by Sean Trott. Hear more at soundcloud.com/Sean Trott. Special thanks to my true loves, my husband Ben, daughter Penelope, and baby girl Evelyn. Don't forget to share the Fourth Trimester podcast with any new and expecting parents. I'm Sarah Trott. Goodbye for now.
Hello again, bicycle man. I know you're doing all that you can. I wrote the song, simple and true. I wrote the song, I'll sing a song for you. You got your wheels, you got your gears. You ride around town without any fear. You got your pedals, you got your brakes. You always wear your helmet for safety's sake. Hello again, bicycle man. I know you're doing all that you can. I wrote the song, simple and true. I wrote the song, I sing a song for you. Hello again, bicycle man. I know you're doing the best that you can. I wrote the song, simple and true. I wrote the song, I sing a song for you.